Welcome to Top 5 Auto Advice. How ignition coils work. An automotive ignition system is divided into two electrical circuits, the primary and secondary circuits. The primary circuit carries low voltage. This circuit operates only on battery current and is controlled by the breaker points and the ignition switch. When the ignition key is turned on, a low-voltage current from the battery flows through the primary windings of the ignition coil, through the breaker points and back to the battery. This current flow causes a magnetic field to form around the coil. The secondary circuit consists of the secondary windings in the coil, the high-tension lead between the distributor and the coil, commonly called the coil wire, on external coil distributors, the distributor cap, the distributor rotor, the spark plug leads and the spark plugs. As the engine rotates, the distributor shaft cam turns until the high point on the cam causes the breaker points to separate suddenly. Instantaneously, when the points open, separate, current flow stops through the primary windings of the ignition coil. This causes the magnetic field to collapse around the coil. The condenser absorbs the energy and prevents arcing between the points each time they open. This condenser also aids in the rapid collapse of the magnetic field. The line of flux in the magnetic field cut through the secondary windings of the ignition coil, creating a high voltage, high enough to jump the gaps between the rotor and the distributor cap terminals, and the electrodes at the base of the spark plug. Assuming that the engine is properly timed, the spark reaches the air-fuel mixture in the cylinder and combustion begins. As the distributor continues to rotate, electrical contact between the rotor and distributor cap terminal is broken, stopping the secondary flow. At the same time, breaker points close to complete the primary circuit, allowing primary current to flow. This primary current will again create a magnetic field and the cycle is repeated for the next cylinder in the firing order. Electronic ignition systems. Modern electronic ignition systems operate on the same principle, but some depend on charging the capacitor to around 400 volts rather than charging the inductance of the coil. The timing of the switching of the transistor should be overlapped with the location of the cylinder piston so that the spark clock to ignite the air and fuel mixture to obtain the more angular momentum possible. There are many degrees before the piston arrives at the top dead center. The contacts runs a shaft that is controlled by the engine camshaft. Or, the timing of the pulses is controlled by the sensor on the engine shaft. Whenever electronic ignition is used, the amount of energy in the spark needed to strike the air-fuel mixture changes depending on the pressure and mixture. The speed of the engine. Ignition coil failures. Heat and vibration can damage the coil's insulation, but the biggest cause of ignition coil damage is voltage overload, which is caused by poor quality or faulty spark plugs. Thanks for watching. If you find this video helpful, please consider like, share and subscribe.